Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. I love this posture. This is such a classic yoga posture. There's certain things, like if you see people do tree, and if you see people do Warrior 3, you just know, or maybe seated in easy pose, you're like, they're doing yoga. This posture I actually really love in AIReal Yoga, because the hammock is an awesome prop for this. The posture ultimately, in the full expression of it, looks like the letter T. So your standing leg is your ankle is underneath the hip, and then your torso is parallel to the mat. The back leg is reaching out and is parallel to the mat, and your arms are reaching forward and parallel to the mat. So you're in this letter T at the ultimate full expression. So most people have known that, and they see that, and so they're just so excited to do that. And so we want to make sure that people know that we do not have to look like the letter T. We do not have to have our leg completely up and horizontal to the mat. This is a process, and it is the end result is to get there, but we don't have to rush that process and practice. What's going to be really important is that the hips are square. So if we want to be in this letter T shape so bad that we begin to compromise the body, dumping into the hip, externally rotating out the back hip, then yes, maybe we look like the letter T, but we are potentially hurting our body. Just a reminder, yoga postures are only safe when done correctly. So for us as teachers, we need to make sure our students are doing them correctly, and we need to be able to give modifications. So for Warrior 3, big rule, hips must be square. We do not have to look like the letter T. We do not have to have the leg lifted to where it's completely horizontal. The toe barely has to lift up. We have to meet the pose with where we are physically at. So the best thing that I have found as the best modification is just lower the back leg. Simply lower the back leg, and that's going to help modify. Bend the front knee, and that's going to create stability. So usually if you bend the front knee and you lower the back leg, we now have stability, and we most likely can get our body into the correct safe alignment. So those are going to be some of your best modifications. The other thing is the hands. Reaching in front of us with that internal rotation, right? The pinky spiraled in, shoulders actively drawing back is where we are going. It's actually really great for tennis elbow too when we're doing this Warrior 3 and holding our hands like that with the palms facing one another. But this can actually be a bit more of a challenge. So some of the other modifications you'll see are with the hands. So having the hands at your heart center could be helpful, or even using something to hold on to, like here's a pole or the wall, or of course my favorite, the hammock. That's going to be a wonderful tool to hold on to because it's a balance posture. When you're balancing, you're just thinking about not falling over. You tend to forget about your alignment. You're just trying to be like, I'm just going to try and hold on with one leg and not fall on my face. So kind of like all the alignment and everything else kind of goes out the window. It's also hard for students to hear because they're just focusing on balance. So when you're doing balancing postures, it's common for people to begin to compromise their body and focus just on the balance. So we have to find tools to allow them to help their balance so they can focus on the alignment. Muscles have memory. So if we do this with poor alignment over and over and over and over, we're actually going to be training our body to do it with poor alignment. So we need to train our muscles how to do it with the safe, correct alignment. So we need to have repetition with the safe, correct alignment. So it's important then to find tools to help them balance so they can stay in the safe, correct alignment. This is a cardiovascular posture. It's a balance posture, a cardiovascular posture. We're standing, a lot going on here. Toning the whole body. Yeah, everything's working. It raises the heart rate because it's a cardiovascular, increasing our metabolism, and helps place balance, helps place balance correctly on the feet. I got to work on what that is saying, but building harmony, balance, and poise, and power throughout the whole body. So yes, you're building power, and you are building balance, and you are building poise. What does that mean? It's actually helping your posture. This posture helps your posture, and having the correct, safe posture in the alignments is important, but having the correct posture when you're standing and sitting and living is going to be really wonderful, because it's usually a wonderful thing that takes away pain and allows us to be mobile and allows us to be efficient. This also is helping us to learn how to balance correctly on our feet. That's what this is trying to say right there. And that's important too, as a lot of people tend to shift too much weight on one side of the foot or crunch their toes. So this is actually teaching a proper way to balance on the feet. Contraindications, heart issues or high blood pressure, low blood pressure. So if someone has been cleared to do yoga though, they should be just fine here. Let's look at the alignment, looking at the photo. So your standing leg, your hip is directly over your standing leg, your standing ankle. We're rooting down through our foot, pressing into all four corners of the feet, not gripping with our toes. And we are going to be hinging at the hips forward. We're going to be lifting our back leg up as high as we can while maintaining square hips, but not going higher than horizontal. So it can go from the floor to horizontal, but not any higher, but it can only go up as high as it can while maintaining square hips. The hands, we can start with them at the heart center. Then if we feel comfortable, we can extend them and reach them in front of us. We want to be careful not to lock our standing leg. We don't want to hyperextend it. You can have a slight bend. You want to be rooting down through the foot, active in the thigh, raising the kneecap, rooting down through the foot. And then keeping the hip stacked over the ankle as it's going to want to go back. Those with sciatica too probably won't be able to lift the foot as high, and that is okay. Making sure that people know that they can keep it nice and low. The big toe can also come onto the mat and then just be lifted off a little bit. We don't need to lift it off at first until we find that we can have the balance. So modifying by lowering that back leg or bending the standing leg can be the first modifications that you would want to start with. Watching out for the locking of the knee, as that is going to be too dangerous because we're having all of our weight on one leg. So we need that leg to be really active, and we definitely don't want to dump into the hip or dump into the knee. So we need to be actively pressing down and lifting through the leg as we're squaring and balancing and holding and doing everything and breathing. The neck is neutral. Our focus is down. Finding a point on the mat can be really helpful too. So we can enter into this in a couple ways. So simply entering into it from your mountain pose and reaching one leg behind us could be a way that we're going to start. You'll also see that from some warrior positions and from lunges, sometimes we also shift our weight forward and then come into our warrior three from our lunge. And that can be another way. I'm going to show you just how to do it simply from the mountain pose right now. Your back foot can be flointed or flexed. I do find that when I have the students flex that back foot, it helps them square. So if you're finding that there's people that are having trouble understanding what square hips are, have them try flexing the foot, or even have them try looking at their foot. And if they flex it and their toes are reaching down towards the mat, the hips are square. If their toes are reaching out to the side, their back leg is externally rotated. So from mountain pose here. I'm going to stand in the middle so you can see me. We can simply release the hands to the side and reach our right leg back. I'm going to start with a slight bend in my standing leg, keeping the hips square, ribs in, core active, shoulders down, then bringing the hands to the heart center. From here, I'm going to start to slowly take weight out of my back leg and shift it into my front leg, making that back foot come off of the mat or your wood plank, and shifting and hinging at the hips, trying to get the torso horizontal as I lift my back leg. And my front knee is slightly bent, and I can lower that back leg too. If at any time I feel off balance, I can always bring that foot down to the mat to help me balance. And then I can come back in, pressing into that standing leg. Bending your front knee and bringing that foot back. Coming into almost what pyramid pose is, taking an inhale, stepping forward, exhale into our mountain pose. This is a really basic way to begin Warrior 3. I like doing it very basic at first because a lot of times if you're in a lunge and you're shifting forward in a lunge and coming back, there's so much transition and so much balance happening that it's hard to bring awareness to the alignment. So just simply doing it with some modifications, bending the front knee and bringing the foot a little bit lower and not being in this complete T formation is a way for them to understand the alignment and get the balance and know that that's where they can start. As they start to progress and feel more confident and comfortable and are able to keep the hips square, they can start to work on keeping that leg straight and lifting the leg higher. So from mountain pose, you could, with the hands down, you could simply start to reach that right leg back and hinge at the hips forward, bringing the torso to horizontal and then reaching those hands in front of you, spiraling the pinky, trying to keep the hips nice and square, shoulders away from those ears. Taking another deep inhale, and on your exhale, coming back to mountain pose. Another variation that we could do, if we were, let's say, in a crescent lunge pose from here, you can also do, I didn't really talk about it, but like you could also do like airplane arms. That would be another variation that you could do. Palms at heart center or reaching forward. So the arms can vary, but ultimately, even if the arms vary, the torso is trying to get to horizontal. And a lot of times, if you have the hands on your hips, it's an easy way to see if they are square. So we can come from maybe our crescent lunge, and we could shift weight into our front leg and begin to lift our back leg into our Warrior 3. As we become more comfortable, we can bring the hands to the heart center. We could go into our airplane arms, or we could reach them in front. And to come down, we would bend our front knee and begin to shift back to place our back foot down, finishing in our crescent lunge. You could also be finishing in Warrior 1. Warrior 1's also a really wonderful posture to enter and exit into for our Warrior 3. This, though, is a little bit more of a challenge on our balance, but still a really lovely option. So, ultimately, it's taking it step by step. For me, step by step, starting with Tadasana, bringing one foot back, and then slowly shifting into a very gentle, mild Warrior 3, and understanding how to do that first, and then allowing people to explore and begin to progress depending on their availability, flexibility, and their balance. And then once I know that they can enter from Tadasana and exit, and they know what the correct alignment is, then it's fun to start, playing with coming from maybe a warrior, then go a Warrior 1, and then going into a Warrior 3, and then exiting back into a high lunge or a Warrior 1 again. That can be a really wonderful flow also, just going to depend on your class intention and your students and who you're working with. So, Warrior 3, super fun and super simple. We're simply hinging to try and get the torso horizontal and then lifting the back leg to work towards getting the back leg up and horizontal. But with easy modifications, hands at the hips, bend your front knee, lift the back leg just a little bit, and then slowly work into the full progression. We do not have to do the full progression. Maybe we'll never be able to do that. That is okay. For those that you find keep wanting to externally rotate because it helps them balance, or they were a gymnast like I was, have them internally rotate the back leg, and then lift up and have them flex the foot. So those that are common, that have been turned out their whole life in dance ballet, what's happened is that they're more flexible on the inside of the leg and less flexible on the outside of the leg. And so they actually, and so then they're stronger on the outside and less strong on the inside. So this Warrior 3 makes them internally rotate, which means that they have to have strength to internally rotate and strength to lift up in the inner leg and the glutes. So a lot of times they just don't have the strength or body awareness for that, or maybe also they don't have the flexibility on the outside of the leg to be able to lift with that correct alignment. So they're going to be internally rotating, extending, and lifting. But just so you know, they might not be able to get it all the way up because they might need to gain more strength on the inner leg and the glute, the lower glute, and they also might need to get more flexibility on the outside of the leg. So then working postures to gain more flexibility and gain more strength on the inside, gain more flexibility on the outside would be really great to do as poses before this posture. Watch out for the hyperextension of the front knee or the hip, the dumping into the hip. And also watch out for the body being compromised by where the hands are, and ultimately reminding everyone that they can lower the leg or get a hammock and hold on to it. That's going to make it really awesome. So there's your Virabhadrasana 3, your Warrior 3. Time for you to reread the notes and practice all the variations. Practice from the beginner to the advanced, practice the modifications, and practice all those steps, and then start speaking it so you can help, so you can work towards teaching it. All right, enjoy.